A super thanks from Jeff Cook. First, I want to say I love the show and thank you for all the time you put in, even when times are bad, to keep us updated. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for the support and helping me feed my family, too. Next, Avania, I want your opinion. I think it would be a good idea to try to sign Lance to a cheap 1 or 2 year deal if he's willing to start him the rest of the season and then hope he plays well, but we still lose. Then we might be able to trade him for a 4th or 5th round pick for the draft. If we can't trade him, then maybe he can be a backup for next season for cheap. So I get where you're coming from here. The issue you run into is, why would Lance do that? If Trey Lance wants to bet on himself, you normally don't see players bet on themselves by signing an extension when their value is at their absolute lowest. It's a good organizational building block idea, but I don't know if the player and his agent would be that interested in doing that, because if he thinks he's going to play well, he's going to get a chance to start, he's going to want to try to prove himself and go find a job next year. That's not just a backup spot and be at the mercy of the Cowboys trading him away on a deal that at that point probably isn't very expensive, and he's not maximizing his money in the end. Now, that came in via Super Thanks. It is a feature here on YouTube. Allows you to donate outside of live videos. Simply click the thanks icon, edit your message, send in whatever you want. We appreciate your support here at the Cowboys Report. Austin Carey's got his idea for the Cowboys. Says hire Ben Johnson as head coach and in. That'd be my preferred hire. Will the Cowboys do it? I don't know. Says bring in Tanner Engerson as the OC. He's the current Lions passing coordinator. I will say I don't care that much about who your OC is if you hire Ben Johnson. But bringing over some Lions coaches makes sense, so I'm on board there. Run it back with Mike Zimmer as DC, but change the defensive assistants. Bring Jason Witten as an offensive assistant. Invest in the O-line. Running back, DB through the draft. Free agency, promote Will McClay to GM. I think, with some exceptions, I think most people would be on board with that. You're letting Will McClay be the real GM. If Will McClay wanted to leave Dallas, he would already be an NFL GM. I think that is something we should always remind ourselves of. I have zero desire to have Jason Witten as a head coach. I think it's a terrible idea. As my tight ends coach, sure. Why not? I got no issues there. That's also kind of like the Lions' philosophy has been very heavy on, we're going to hire former players as coaches. But they start off as assistants and work their way up like everyone in the world does, except for a few exceptions. So I love the idea of Ben Johnson in particular. Who is your dream head coaching hire? Let me know in the comments, the pinned comment actually, of today's show, especially if the ad comes here on YouTube. Al Walton, I never want to lose the Eagles or the Washington Football Wizards, but I want to tank. 100%. Hashtag Team Tank. You're not alone on that, Al. I don't like losing to the Commanders. Like I just don't like them. But Eagles too, Giants well. Like there is some semblance of like I hate losing games like that, but you help the tank. So I get both angles of it. Trust me. Mark, you have 2 good corners, a linebacker, and number 11. Tank is old. Every other guy on defense would not start for most teams. We have Dak, CeeDee, Tyler, and Ferg on offense. That's it. I think in general you're underestimating the lack of competent offensive line play in the NFL. That's what bothers me so much about your current coaching staff. I have seen other teams make do with way less investment and get much better results than your offensive line coach and play caller have gotten out of a fairly heavily invested offensive line. That frustrates me. I was also a bit disappointed by Jake Ferguson this year. Hoping he bounces back next year. Defensively, I think Osa would start on a bunch of teams. He's going to get $10 million in the open market next year if he wants. Because I watched Justin Jones get 10, and he's like outright bad. So but you are not wrong that there's a lot of, and Osa's a free agent too. So if you're not counting him, like then you're really really thin there. You lost depth and haven't replaced it yet, and it's really showing up with all the injuries this season. Today's show is made possible by Ollie. Clean, fresh nutrition for your dog in 5 flavors they'll absolutely love. They are offering a fantastic deal to let your pup taste test a personalized meal plan. Get 60% off your first box of meals when you use promo code CHATSPORTS at ollie.com. You don't have to be a vet to know that feeding your dog real, whole foods with minimal processing is one of the best choices you can make for their health. In fact, a perfectly portioned whole food fresh diet has been proven to extend your pup's life by 2.5 years. Who doesn't want more time with their best friend? With no harmful fillers and no preservatives, Ollie is made in U.S. kitchens with ingredients carefully sourced from trusted growers and producers around the world. My doggo Finn and now 3-year-old Olivia are the bestest of friends, and he needs as much energy as possible to keep up with her and her very, very busy, energetic lifestyle, and constant hugs and cuddles and kisses. So head to Ollie.com, tell them about your dog, and use code CHATSPORTS, and you'll get 60% off your first box of meals when you subscribe today. That's OLLIE.com. Enter code CHATSPORTS to get 60% off your first box. They offer a clean bowl guarantee on their first box, so you know if you're not completely satisfied, you can get your money back. Dwayne Jackson. It's a if or when Mike gets fired with bad play calling, game management. Knowing that Mike knows he's going to get fired, do you think he is mentally checked out? I don't think he's mentally checked out yet, because I'll say this. I've seen Mike try to do things. I have seen him increase his motion of CeeDee Lamb. I have seen him, for a game, do more pistol sets. But I think part of Mike's issue here is he goes to what he likes, what he trusts. In critical moments, he regresses back to the old ways. And the reason why the offense looked good down the stretch last year after the bye was they were stealing plays from the Shanahans, just constantly taking plays and saying, let's run these, Dak and Lamb ball out. Well, they stopped stealing those plays. Dak and Lamb weren't balling out the same way, and the bottom fell out of the offense. I think that in the end, it's not that he's checked out, it's just he's not good enough. From Mark, I don't expect all pros, but most of our starters, like Olsen and Golston, and most of our OR marginal starters at best, we have zero depth drafting the bad. You're really feeling the pain of a couple, like, not good enough drafts, especially when you don't add talent in other ways. Like when you don't add free agents. Like if you really try to make your 90% of your roster through the draft and you get 15, 10% worse in the draft, that is a big impact on your roster that could be overridden by, hey, we went out and signed some players. Even the Bengals have spent more money in free agency than you have. They've been bad too, but they've spent more money. Like the missed draft picks are compounded in a way you don't see in Philadelphia, for example, when you don't do anything else beyond the NFL draft. From Carter, how much does the next head coach impact the draft? Well, I think a decent amount. You know, what he wants to do on offense and or defense, who he hires, what the fits are going to be, what the philosophy is going to be. That stuff does matter. Maybe less so for, like, you know, if you get Travis Hunter, there's no impact, right? But even the day 2, day 3 picks, like, frankly, that was an issue with Dan Quinn. Go back and look at the heavily influenced Dan Quinn draft picks. There's a lot of misses there. Now, there's some big hits that have kind of bailed out Micah, but this team is always going to allow the coaching staff to have input. Sometimes for the best, sometimes for the worst. You know, Rod Marinelli really wanted Jalen Ramsey, or really wanted Taco Charlton. He was on board passing on Ramsey because they thought he was a safety. They missed that one. You know, your head coach really wanted Trey McBride. Didn't get him. Really wanted Luke Schoonmaker. Happens. Who do you want to take in round 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Steven Goltz, barring injury, do you see Trey Lance starting any game for the Cowboys? Yes, I do. If Rush doesn't get way better, which it really feels like he's just a straight-up product of his environment, period, you have to try him at some point. Now, you've got this week and then Thanksgiving. It's a really tight turnaround. Seems unlikely. If you lose to the Giants, which you might see McCarthy get fired if that happens, maybe. That makes a lot of sense to make a quarterback change. you have extra time to overhaul the offense. Because you can't run the same offense. You have to do different stuff, which might not be the right guy for that anyway. Daniel M., if Ashton Jeanty is not there at 9, do you trade down and get multiple picks or stay where you're at and hope that you hit in day one? Well, it depends on who's there. Like if Jeanty's off the board, is Mason Graham there? Is Ted McMillan there? Has there been a run on QBs? Has there not been a run on QBs and someone gets desperate? So it's not even just if Jeanty's there or not. Like, he's not my number one aimed player, frankly, even though I think he's going to be really good in the NFL. Like, I want to see how the board falls. And because I think there's a chance McMillan is there. Because a lot of those receiver-needy teams are also quarterback-needy teams. Felix, how do we get Travis Hunter to the Cowboys? All right, 2 paths. Number 1, you don't win a game the rest of the season. Even then, you might not get the number 1 overall pick. You don't control your destiny from that perspective. The other angle is maybe you win like 1 game and you're picking like 3 or 4, and your owner's good buddy Deion Sanders finagles and gets his way to get Travis Hunter to Dallas somehow. That's pure hopium. But I think it's a lot more credible than Deion is going to take the Cowboys job after they draft him, which doesn't make any sense, by the way, because the draft comes after you hire a head coach, just so we're clear on that. So what draft pick do you think the Dallas Cowboys will end up with? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Mark, if someone wants to pay Osa $10 million for a guy that averages 3 sacks a season and is 0 versus the run, then have at it. Most guys are not as good as him. I get it, but I'm just saying the free agency market is going to be expensive, which good, go spend. But with Liam McNeil off the board, you can go look at some of those top free agent articles. Osa's going to be on them. But if you want to move on, I'm all for it. But what you have to do, and I know Mark's on board with this too, you have to replace him. Osa, to me, is probably going to fall into the Dante Fowler, the Tyler Biotish, the Dorrance Armstrong bucket. Like, I don't want to pay those guys what I think they're going to get on the open market, but I have to backfill. I have to get somebody else in that's just as good and cheaper or better. I can't just not replace Osa and then have Mozzie Smith and only under contract right now is Mozzie Smith, that defensive tackle. Legitimately, this is a bigger conversation. I want to bring in 4 new defensive tackles this upcoming offseason. I want to bring in 4 new ones. Draft, free agency, trades, all of it. Now, if you want to be a part of our Cowboys mailbags throughout the offseason, hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. Brendan Drunsky, I'm just saying it wrong, Brendan, I'm sorry. How did the offense become so bad? I think what we saw, with this is the benefit of hindsight too, what we saw last year is that version of the Cowboys offense with that level of talent and that level of play caller and quarterback and skill guys and everything, that version had overachieved and was maxed out. They're doing their max bench press rep and they've hit it. And even adding 1 pound was too much. In this case, there were multiple pounds added where the offensive line was shaky. It was younger. It wasn't as good. The running game got worse because they moved on from Tony Pollard and didn't get a better player in there. The receiving core didn't really take a step forward the way you were hoping for. Cooks regressed a little bit. The play caller significantly regressed. The plan that we all knew was never going to work of do more with less got the results we thought they were going to get, but probably a more extreme version, and maybe it feels different if you weren't as decimated right now, but I think even with Cooper Rush in there not playing well, I think we can see, okay, there's a lot of different issues here that were kind of covered up by Lamb and Dak playing out of their minds last season. Dwayne Jackson, do you trust Jerry Jones with the offseason the salary cap with free agency before the draft? No, I don't. But I don't really have any other options, do I? I've kind of just got to throw out ideas and we'll see what happens. I don't trust them. I could hope that they make changes here, but the lack of faith is very well earned from this fan base.